The emergency alert blared through the halls of Earth Space Station Outpost 7. Captain James Miller rushed to the command center, his boots echoing against the metal floor. The station's sensors had picked up a distress signal from an unknown vessel drifting at the edge of Jupiter's orbit. "What do we know?" James asked, leaning over the console where Officer Tom Reed was working. "Not much, sir. It's definitely not one of ours. Signal pattern is like nothing in our database," Tom replied, his fingers dancing across the screen. "But it's clearly a distress call." James studied the readouts, his brow furrowed. Humanity had been venturing deeper into space for decades but had yet to encounter intelligent alien life. This could be first contact, or a trap. "Prepare a rescue shuttle. I want a small team, 6 people max, full combat gear just in case," James ordered. "I'll lead it myself." Within an hour, James and 5 of his best crew members were aboard the rescue shuttle approaching the damaged alien vessel. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of their largest battleship, with an unusual design that resembled a spiny sea creature. "Look at those hull breaches," said Lisa Parker, the team's engineer. "Something tore right through their armor." As they drew closer, James spotted movement near one of the breaches. "There's someone alive in there. Dock at that emergency airlock." After securing their shuttle to the alien ship, the team entered with weapons ready. The interior was bathed in dim red emergency lighting. Strange symbols flashed on wall panels, and the air smelled of unfamiliar chemicals. "Holy," Alex Jones, the communications specialist, stopped mid-sentence as they turned a corner. Standing before them was a group of massive reptilian creatures. They stood nearly 8 feet tall with tough, scaled skin and powerful builds. Their faces were lizard-like with sharp teeth and yellow eyes. Several were wounded, green fluid seeping from their injuries. One stepped forward, raising a clawed hand in what seemed like a peaceful gesture. "Different," it said in broken English, the word clearly difficult with its mouth structure. "You, different species." Before James could respond, a massive explosion rocked the ship. The reptilian aliens grabbed their weapons, advanced energy rifles that hummed with power. "Vorn attack," the lead alien shouted. "Enemy come." From the opposite corridor, another alien species appeared. These were insectoid with multiple limbs and compound eyes. They fired strange weapons that launched glowing projectiles. Without hesitation, James and his team took cover and returned fire alongside the reptilians. The human weapons, while less advanced, proved effective against the insectoid attackers. During the firefight, James noticed the reptilians were strong but moved cautiously, conserving energy. When one was wounded, it immediately withdrew from the battle. In contrast, his human team pushed forward even when grazed by enemy fire. The skirmish lasted 15 intense minutes before the insectoid attackers retreated. The lead reptilian approached James, studying him with newfound interest. "I am Commander Grak of the Krell Empire," he said, his English improving as he spoke. "You fight well for small beings." "Captain James Miller of Earth," James replied, extending his hand. Grak looked at the hand in confusion before mimicking the gesture with his clawed appendage. "Your warriors continue fighting after injury." "Unusual." "We do what's necessary," James said simply. Grak led them to the ship's bridge, explaining that the Krell had been mapping this system when the Vorn, the insectoid species, ambushed them. The Vorn were aggressive expansionists who considered all other species inferior. "Your help unexpected," Grak said. "We owe life debt." On the bridge, other Krell officers examined the humans with curious eyes. James noticed their technology was far advanced beyond Earth's capabilities. "The Vorn threat grows," Grak explained, showing a star map with red markers spreading across multiple systems. "Your species shows interesting qualities. Perhaps alliance beneficial." "What kind of alliance?" James asked cautiously. Join strike force. Fight Vorn together, Grak said. Humans small, but adapt quickly. Fight through pain. Unusual traits. The Krell officers murmured among themselves, clearly debating the idea. One stepped forward, examining James skeptically. Humans have no natural armor, this new Krell said doubtfully. Soft skin. Weak bones. How survive battle? James smiled. We're tougher than we look. And we're very good at surprising our enemies. Grak made a sound that might have been laughter. Yes. Surprise important in war. We repair ship, then go to Krell command. You join us, show human abilities. James looked at his team, who nodded in agreement. This was far beyond their original rescue mission, but the opportunity to forge an alliance with an advanced alien civilization couldn't be ignored. We'll need to contact Earth, James said. But speaking for my team, we're in. Grak placed a heavy clawed hand on James's shoulder. Good. Vorn underestimate small species. They underestimate humans. Big mistake. As the humans helped the Krell repair their ship, neither species realized this chance encounter would change the course of the war, and it would be a human's remarkable tenacity that would ultimately earn the respect of the galaxy's greatest warriors. The Krell training facility orbited a gas giant with swirling orange clouds. Inside, James and his team trained alongside Krell Marines, adapting to the higher gravity and unfamiliar equipment. Faster, human, barked Sergeant Tark, a scarred Krell veteran. Enemy gives no time for rest. James pushed through another set of combat drills, sweat pouring down his face. Unlike the Krell, who trained in bursts with recovery periods, humans maintained a steady pace for hours. Your endurance puzzles me, Tark admitted during a break. Small bodies, yet you continue when Krell must rest. Evolution on Earth made us persistence hunters, James explained, drinking water. We can't outmuscle predators, but we can outlast them. Tark clicked his teeth, a Krell gesture of respect. Different approach. Useful. The training intensified over the following days. During a combat simulation, James's team demonstrated tactical flexibility that surprised the Krell commanders. When standard approaches failed, the humans improvised solutions using environmental features the Krell had ignored. Humans think differently, observed Commander Grak, watching from the control room. See opportunities we miss. The true revelation came during pain tolerance testing. A Krell Marine would withdraw after receiving even minor injuries, but James continued functioning despite a broken finger during hand-to-hand combat. Why continue with damaged limb? Asked the bewildered Krell medic. Because I can still fight, James answered simply. Word spread through the Krell ranks about the strange humans. They lacked the natural armor and strength of Krell warriors but possessed remarkable adaptability and resilience. During the final training exercise, James's quick thinking saved Tark's squad from an ambush. After completing the mission with a wounded shoulder, James earned the nickname Unyielding among the Krell Marines. At the mission briefing, Commander Grak announced their target, a Vorn outpost conducting raids on Allied supply ships. Strike team includes Sergeant Tark's unit and human squad, Grak declared, silencing murmurs of protest from some Krell officers. Human adaptability will be asset for unexpected scenarios. Tark approached James after the briefing. Our peoples are different, James unyielding, but we fight well together. James nodded, checking his modified Krell armor. Different strengths, same goal. Tomorrow we face real enemy, Tark said, performing the Krell warrior's salute. May your soft skin remain intact. James grinned and returned the gesture. And may your scales stay shiny. As the humans prepared their equipment that night, none could have predicted how their differences would become their greatest advantage. or how James would soon demonstrate humanity's most shocking quality to the galaxy's greatest warriors. The Joint Strike Force departed aboard the Krell assault ship Fong of Destiny. James stood on the bridge, watching stars streak past as they entered faster-than-light travel. "Arrival at Vorn Outpost in 3 hours," announced the Krell navigator. "Enemy defenses unknown." Commander Grack studied tactical displays with his officers while James reviewed the mission with Tark. Tark approached, his scaled face unreadable. "Ready for real battle, James unyielding?" James nodded, determination in his eyes. "Born ready." Neither warrior could have predicted the true test that awaited them inside the Vorn nest, or the legend that would be born from their mission. The diversion began with a series of explosions on the outpost's eastern perimeter. Vorn soldiers swarmed toward the distraction, leaving the western entrance lightly guarded. Now, Tark signaled, leading James and 4 Krell warriors toward a maintenance hatch. A Krell tech specialist bypassed the security system, and the small team slipped inside the facility. The interior was humid and dimly lit, with organic-looking structures covering the walls. "Vorn build with living material," whispered Tark. "Nest responds to intruders." James checked his tactical display. "Power core is 3 levels down. This way." They moved through narrow corridors, eliminating isolated Vorn guards with silenced weapons. The deeper they went, the warmer and more humid the air became. Approaching central chamber, the tech specialist reported. They entered a vast circular room with multiple levels. Vorn workers scurried about, tending to pulsing machinery. At the center stood the power core, a massive crystalline structure glowing with blue-green energy. "Guards at all access points," observed James. "We need the alarm suddenly blared. Their presence had been detected. "Cover blown," shouted Tark. "Attack pattern Omega." The team broke from cover, firing at the surprised Vorn guards. James and Tark pushed toward the central platform while the other Krell provided covering fire. Vorn reinforcements poured in from upper levels, forcing the team into defensive positions behind equipment. "We're pinned down," reported one of the Krell warriors as energy blasts struck nearby. James spotted a maintenance ladder leading to an overhead catwalk. "I'll flank them. Cover me." The Krell intensified their fire as James sprinted toward the ladder. He climbed quickly, reaching the catwalk that circled above the power core. From this position, he could target the Vorn from behind. James took aim at the Vorn commander, but before he could fire, a guard spotted him. The Vorn raised its weapon and fired a concentrated energy beam. Time seemed to slow as the beam struck James's left arm just below the elbow. There was a moment of searing pain, then nothing. Looking down in shock, James saw his forearm and hand completely severed, falling to the floor below. Tark saw it happen and roared in dismay. "James is down. Retreat to extract position." But James wasn't down. The combat stimulants in his suit automatically injected pain suppressants. With his remaining hand, he pulled a compression band from his medical pouch and cinched it tight above the wound, stopping the blood flow. Below, the Krell stared in disbelief as James raised his rifle one-handed and continued firing at the Vorn forces. Even more shocking to them, his accuracy barely suffered. "James!" Tark called. "Stop fighting. You are severely wounded." "I can still shoot," James replied through gritted teeth, picking off 3 more Vorn soldiers in rapid succession. "Cover me while I move to your position." The Krell warriors watched in stunned silence as James navigated the catwalk one-handed, leaped down to a lower platform, and rejoined them, all while maintaining suppressive fire. "How are you still fighting?" asked a bewildered Krell medic. James grimaced, tightening his makeshift tourniquet. "One arm down, one still works. We have a mission to complete." The Vorn seemed equally confused by the humans' continued combat effectiveness. Their tactics faltered as they failed to understand how a warrior with such a catastrophic injury could still pose a threat. Tark stared at James with newfound respect. "What now, James?" unyielding. Despite the pain beginning to break through the medication, James pointed toward the power core with his rifle. "Now we finish what we came to do." The Krell Marines stared at James in stunned disbelief. To them, losing a limb meant immediate medical evacuation. No Krell would, or could, continue fighting effectively after such trauma. "You should not be conscious," the Krell medic insisted, reaching for James. Later, James said firmly, scanning the room. "We have an opening." The Vorn forces had fallen into disarray, confused by the humans' impossible resilience. Their insectoid communication revealed their bewilderment, clicks and chirps rising in pitch as they reported the anomaly to their commanders. "They're distracted," James noted. "Tark, if we move now, we can reach the power core." Tark hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Lead the way," James unyielding. James quickly analyzed their situation. With one arm, he couldn't climb or handle complex equipment easily, but he could still shoot and move. "I'll provide covering fire," he told Tark. "You and Drac plant the explosives." The squad moved as one, with James using his environment to compensate for his missing limb. He braced his rifle against wall sections for stability, used his shoulder to activate door panels, and kicked equipment into position rather than trying to lift it. A group of Vorn soldiers attempted to flank them, but James had anticipated the maneuver. He'd positioned himself where he could wedge his back against a column, freeing his one hand to fire accurately without needing to balance. "Central platform, 30 meters, Tark reported. The power core hummed with energy, its crystalline structure pulsing with light. Two Krell warriors created a defensive perimeter while Tark and the demolition specialist approached the core. James spotted movement from above, Vorn reinforcements rappelling down from upper levels. He swiveled and fired upward, his shots precise despite the awkward angle. 3 Vorn fell, their chitinous bodies clattering onto the walkways below. "How long?" James called, ejecting an empty magazine with a practiced flick of his wrist. He slammed his rifle against his thigh to seat a new magazine he'd positioned there. 2 minutes to set charges, came Tark's reply. A wounded Krell warrior stumbled, exposed to enemy fire. Without hesitation, James lunged forward, grabbing the larger alien with his one arm and dragging him to cover, a feat of strength that shouldn't have been possible given the Krell's superior weight. "Impossible," whispered the injured Krell. "Just adrenaline," James replied, administering a quick injection of Krell medical gel to the warrior's wound. "You'll be fine." The facility's alarms changed tone, a higher, more urgent sound that indicated a critical alert. "Charges set," Tark announced. 7 minutes to detonation. As the team began their retreat, a massive Vorn, clearly a commander, emerged with an elite guard. It chittered commands, and the guards formed a blockade between the strike team and their exit route. "We're cut off," one of the Krell reported grimly. James studied the Vorn commander, noting its aggressive posture. "Not yet, we're not. I have a plan." He turned to Tark, his face pale from blood loss but his eyes sharp with determination. "Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. They expect us to retreat, let's do the opposite." Tark looked at the human's missing limb, then at his resolute expression. Against all Krell military doctrine, he found himself nodding in agreement. "What is your plan, James unyielding?" "Something they'll never expect from a wounded warrior," James replied with a grim smile. "We're going straight through them." James's plan was as simple as it was reckless, a direct assault on the Vorn commander. "The commander is their focal point," James explained, breathing heavily as pain medication began to wear off. "Take him out, disrupt their chain of command." Tark studied the human warrior. By Krell standards, James should be in shock, incapacitated. Instead, he was formulating attack strategies. Distraction needed, Tark agreed. But how will you fight? One arm against elite guards? James pulled a compact device from his belt. Human ingenuity. He activated the device, attaching it to his weapon. The magnetic mount clicked into place, creating a stabilizing brace that connected to his shoulder armor. Now I can aim one-handed with stability, James explained. And for close combat. He pulled a serrated combat knife from his boot. I still have options. The Krell team created a diversion with their remaining explosives, detonating them at the far side of the chamber. As predicted, most Vorn guards turned toward the noise. James sprinted forward, moving in a zigzag pattern that confused the Vorn's compound eyes. Their targeting systems struggled to track his erratic movements. The Vorn commander chittered in surprise as James closed the distance. It raised a multi-barreled energy weapon, but James had already dropped to a slide, firing upward with his rifle brace combination. The shot struck the commander's weapon, disabling it. The massive insectoid switched to close combat mode, extending blade-like limbs. What followed astonished the watching Krell warriors. Rather than retreat from the larger opponent, James adapted instantly to his one-armed limitation. He used momentum and leverage instead of matching strength, rolling under slashing attacks and striking at vulnerable joint sections. Impossible fighting style, muttered a Krell observer. He's creating techniques on the spot. When the Vorn commander pinned James against a console, everyone expected the end. Instead, James slammed his head forward in a move no Krell would consider, a human headbutt that cracked the commander's facial plate. Momentarily stunned, the Vorn loosened its grip. James twisted free, simultaneously drawing his knife and plunging it into the creature's central nerve cluster, a weakness he'd observed during previous encounters. The commander collapsed, emitting a dying screech that sent the remaining Vorn into disarray. Now! James shouted, his face streaked with blood. Move to extraction point. The team fought their way through confused Vorn soldiers, reaching the exit corridor as the facility's systems began to fail. The power core's instability caused secondary explosions throughout the structure. They emerged onto the moon's surface just as the main detonation occurred. The ground shook as the Vorn outpost collapsed in on itself, disappearing into a sinkhole of its own making. At the extraction point, the Krell medic finally convinced James to accept treatment. His face had gone ghostly white, his remaining hand trembling from blood loss and exhaustion. Should have died, the medic said, administering emergency treatments. No Krell could fight after such injury. James managed a weak smile. Humans, we're stubborn that way. As the rescue shuttle lifted off, Tark watched the human slip into unconsciousness, but even then, his severed arm still gripped his weapon. Remember this day, Tark told his warriors. We witnessed something the galaxy has never seen. The Krell Marines nodded in solemn agreement, their perception of humans forever changed. The medical bay aboard the Krell flagship Dominant Scale hummed with activity. James lay on a recovery bed, multiple monitors tracking his vital signs. After 3 days of intensive treatment, he was finally awake and alert. Commander Grak entered with Sergeant Tark and the Chief Medical Officer. All three Krell approached with a new demeanor, something resembling reverence. James unyielding, Grak said formally. Your actions have changed Krell understanding of humans. James glanced at the empty space where his left arm had been. Just did what any soldier would do. No, Tark corrected firmly. No Krell would continue after such injury. Our biology, our training, we retreat when damaged to preserve fighting capability. The medical officer stepped forward. Your species' ability to compartmentalize pain, to adapt instantly to catastrophic injury, it defies our medical understanding. James shifted uncomfortably under their scrutiny. Humans have always had to adapt. We're not the strongest or fastest species on our planet. We survived by refusing to give up. Grak placed a ceremonial object on the bed, a curved dagger with the Krell Imperial seal. The High Command has reviewed the mission recordings. They wish to bestow upon you the Claw of Endurance. No non-Krell has ever received this honor. While James recovered, word of his feat spread throughout the Allied fleet. Krell warriors requested transfers to human integrated units, eager to learn from these strange, soft-skinned aliens who could fight through conditions that would stop a Krell instantly. In the strategy room, James, now recovered enough to attend briefings, found himself surrounded by Krell officers asking about human combat techniques. "Your approaches never occurred to us," admitted the Krell combat instructor. "Fighting without optimal physical condition, adapting techniques mid-battle, these concepts are revolutionary." Reports arrived of Vorn forces retreating from 3 contested systems. Intercepted communications revealed the reason: fear of the unkillable humans, who continued fighting despite catastrophic injury. A week later, James received a visitor, the Krell's most prestigious biotechnology expert. "We have studied your physiology," the scientist explained, presenting a sleek metallic case. This prototype combines Krell and human technology. Inside was an advanced prosthetic arm, more sophisticated than anything available on Earth. Its synthetic muscles mimicked natural movement, with integrated combat systems and enhanced strength. The first of many collaborations, Grak announced as technicians fitted the prosthetic to James's residual limb. Human adaptability with Krell engineering. James flexed the new fingers, marveling at their responsiveness. "Feels almost real." As he tested the arm's capabilities in the training room, dozens of Krell warriors observed with newfound respect. When James demonstrated how quickly he'd adjusted to the prosthetic, murmurs of appreciation spread through the audience. Later, during the formal alliance ceremony, Tark approached James privately. Before meeting humans, Krell believed physical strength determined superior warriors, the sergeant admitted. "Now we understand true strength lies in continuing when others would stop." James smiled, extending his new prosthetic hand in the human gesture of friendship. "Different species, different strengths." Tark clasped James's artificial hand with his clawed one. Together, unstoppable. As the Krell-Human Alliance prepared to launch a major offensive against the Vorn, the story of James Miller, the human who fought on after losing a limb, became legend throughout the galaxy. It marked the beginning of humanity's reputation as the most adaptable and resilient species in known space. Not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to quit.